Hey, how's it going? My name's Corey Pollard. I'm the owner at Ellis Concrete Coatings. This is a sample of what our product looks like after it's been applied to concrete. If you angle it back right there, you can kind of see it's got a glossy finish. It's got some texture to it. It's very durable. But to make this work correctly on the actual concrete, there's some things that need to be done very correctly. When people go to mix their buckets, they don't really pay too much attention when they're learning where they set the bucket down. Now, where you set the bucket down, I've noticed can make a tremendous difference on how your measurements come out. So I'm gonna go outside. I'm gonna take you guys outside. I'm gonna show you. I'm at the shop today. I apologize if there's excessive noise. Part of the reason I'm able to do this today is because it is pouring down rain, so we're not out installing. So let's go outside and take a look, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. If you look right here, you can see how it goes down this direction, right? And when it's going down that direction, I measured it out. This is hitting right at roughly about a 5-degree angle, which is not that steep of an angle, but it's enough to mess you up. All right, we're back inside. I'm gonna show you here in a second, I've got just a piece of wood propped up. It's gonna simulate the angle of what the driveway was gonna do. Sometimes with our products, because they're UV stable, we use them on porches, patios, things of that nature. When we do that, the slope of the ground can do the same thing. Sometimes if you're mixing out of your trailer or you're mixing out of your box truck or your van, if you're not paying attention and those things are not level as well, then you could be creating the same problem. You're very used to seeing something similar to this. You're gonna have your measurements. When we wanna mix a ratio, if we're doing a 1-to-1 ratio, then we're going to put 16 ounces of part A, 16 ounces of part B. That's gonna be a 1-to-1 ratio. If we're mixing a larger amount, then say you come up, put 32 ounces of part A, then you're gonna put another 32 ounces, that's gonna bring you up to 64, that's gonna be a 1-to-1. If we're doing a 2-to-1 mix, then our 2-to-1 mix is going to be, in all these divisions, you need to check your buckets to make sure, but most buckets are labeled in a manner that these are all equal amounts. You can't assume that. You have to look and you have to make sure that your buckets are going to be labeled, because we do have some buckets that the first two are not even equal parts, and so just watch that. On the bigger buckets it usually is, but on a 2-to-1 ratio you're looking at going 2 lines, so we're looking at 32 ounces. That's going to be 16 and 16. That's going to give you your 2. Then you're going to add another 16 ounces, and that's going to give you your third part. Now, if this is sitting flat, then that's all going to work out correctly. If it's sitting on a driveway and it's angled like this, then now you're potentially, like, if you've got the measurements here, or you've got the measurements up here at the top of the driveway, this coming across level here, it's deeper over here, it's more shallow over here, that's gonna throw off your measurements. And if it's facing down here, it's gonna throw them off the opposite way. So all I've got is an old jug. It's been rinsed out, and I've got some water in it with some food coloring. We're gonna do some pours, and I've got some smaller cups. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna do some pouring, and then we're gonna pour those measurements back out into the smaller cups to see how many ounces off our pour actually is from this slight slope that we're currently working with. So we're gonna start off with the measurements facing downhill. We're gonna start off with a 1-to-1 ratio. So I'm gonna take it to 16 ounces. And you can already see, just by looking at the bucket, how far off that mix is going to be. That's terrible. We're going to see how many ounces that actually translates into, so we can see how far off our mixture is when we get finished. We're sitting right at 8 ounces, okay? So we're already 8 ounces short with our first pour. I'm gonna put this back in. We're gonna go ahead and fill it up to the 32 ounce mark and see how far off we are. We're actually just a tad over the 32 ounce line. But I'm gonna take and pour it out, see how many total ounces we have from what should be our 32 ounce mix. See that? I'm holding it level. That's right at 24 ounces. Now our first pour was 8 ounces, right? It was supposed to be 16, it was 8. Then our second pour was supposed to add another 16 ounces to get it up to 32. And we were looking at a 1-to-1 ratio. Now, with trying to achieve a 1-to-1 ratio, we put first in 8 ounces. The second pour came up to be 16 ounces added. But when we did that, we actually created a 2-to-1 ratio on our chemical that was supposed to be a 1-to-1 ratio. So we are way off on where we should be. And that is going to cause issues when you're mixing, when you're curing, when you're looking for longevity of the product. These are things that you need to take into account. This is how severe, and this is not a dramatic slope from what I've seen people actually try to mix on. So that right there should be proof enough that you just shouldn't do it. Now, I'm gonna, just for the sake of seeing, you know, what we can experiment with, I'm gonna turn it so that the numbers are, or the lines that we're pouring to are perpendicular to the slope. And I'm also gonna do one set where it's at the top, just to see how far off we're getting, okay? But bear with me, we'll see what we're doing. And, you know, if you're doing this on your jobs, then maybe this could be a reason why you have problems with slow cure times, or it's not curing at all, or when it cures, sometimes it's gummy, or it's not resisting stains the way it's supposed to be. It's because the chemical is not being allowed to do what it's meant to do, because it's supposed to be in proportions that are specifically designed to mix to a certain amount, and you're throwing them way off simply by just having it on an angle. All right, so I'm gonna get back over here. I'm gonna switch the bucket and we'll see what happens the second go around. Okay, try to get this a little bit closer so we can speed up the video a little bit so you can actually see what's going on. The slope has not changed, the setup has not changed. We just moved the camera around. But now we're gonna go back to that same 1-to-1 ratio. We're gonna pour up to the 16 ounce line, and then we're gonna pour up to the 32 ounce line. And just in case you didn't know, when you are pouring, you are trying to get the material as even with that line as you possibly can. Not close. It needs to be spot on, okay? So I know it's hard sometimes. You're pouring out of a 5-gallon bucket, or a 2-gallon bucket, or whatever it is you may be pouring out of. Please, 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 just for the safety of, or the sake of your customers, do the best you can when you're mixing. Mixing is so important. There's potentially chemists that if they're gonna watch this video, they're gonna be cringing. But I'm serious, like, you really want to do what you can to do the best job you possibly can. So when you do pour, and you do have the bucket on a level surface, you want to be hitting right at the pre-designated lines. That way you're getting a good mix. We're going to pour this material into the smaller cup so we can see how far off our material level is. It's hitting right at about 17 ounces, okay? So not as bad as the first time, but still not where we want it to be. Okay. It's right at 32. All right, so that measurement, oddly enough, came out to be, if you can see that, I know I'm holding it, but I set it on a flat surface so I can see it's right at 32 ounces. Okay, now even though it's right at 32 ounces and that's what you were going for, we were going for 32 ounces. The first one was 17, which is going to make the other one 15. And even though that's close, you really want to shoot to be as accurate as you possibly can be, okay? Now, I want to go this way. We've got the measurements on the high side. Let's see how far off we're going to be there. We're going to pour that out back into our little one to find out how many ounces is in the measurement. 26 ounces. So that one is way off. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and take it up to 32 ounces. Again, simulating how far off our 1-to-1 ratio would be. So that's back at 16 ounces. We're going to add until we get up to the 32 ounce line. Now we're up to our 32 ounce line. We were at 26 ounces, so I'm going to pour out 26 in one container. You can see we went right back to 26 ounces for part A. And the second one, sorry for shaking, but it's right at about 16 and a half to 17 ounces. All right, so on that last mix, we were looking at 26 ounces for part A, 16 ounces for part B. Realistically, now you're looking at a 10-ounce discrepancy that you're short on your part B, okay? And it doesn't matter if you put your part A in first or your part B, different chemicals work differently. On our top coat specifically, we tend to pour part B first, and so now our part A is short by 10 ounces. Well, if we're gonna be short 10 ounces, we're nowhere near that 1-to-1 ratio that we're looking for. I was actually considering when I was making this video doing it for 1-to-1, doing it for 2-to-1 ratios. But this 1-to-1 information that we've just found on a roughly 5-degree slope, it's proving already how far off your mixing ratios can be. And since they're going to be that far off, then if you're mixing your own chemicals and you're mixing them on site, then I would really encourage you to do everything you can to make sure that your mixing surface is flat before you ever get started, okay? I'm hoping that in the future, if I have time, I can share more of these videos to help out with anybody that's getting into this or people that have been doing this for a while, coating concrete. We love to do it. We have a passion for it. Really, we try to do everything we possibly can at my company to make sure that we are on point with every little thing we can. I'm fairly OCD about the way that I do things. I want them done in a very specific manner for our reputation, for our clients, for the benefit of taking care of people. That's what we strive for. And so, you know, we go down to just about every little detail. And when we're going down to those details, these are the things that I notice. And what I have thought about over the years is I've always, in my head, assumed it was wrong. But until we put it down on the table and we actually see it firsthand and we see what we just saw with the measurements on the chemicals, it's just an assumption. So I want to throw it out there. These videos are going to be training tools for our installers. There are going to be references, but feel free if you find any useful knowledge out of this, please feel free to comment. You know, if you've got any tips or tricks on what you do in the field, honestly, I want to be able to help and share information, things that I've seen, little tips and tricks here and there. And if we have more rainy days, maybe we'll be able to keep throwing out content. Otherwise, I'm going to be out making floors beautiful. But thanks for watching. Hope you learned something, and have a good day.